underwear, and I'm making lemon chicken piccata with green beans as my side. So my protein is chicken, my vegetable is green beans, my starch is angel hair pasta, and my sauce is a lemon roux. We have the 4 basic food molecules here. We have protein, we have water ready for boiling, we have our fats, and we have our carbohydrates. So protein is, simply put, meat. It's a string of amino acids. It has 9 amino acids we cannot make, so we need to eat them. Water is made up of 1 negative oxygen, 2 positive hydrogens, very strong bonds. Water needs very large amounts of heat energy to come to a boil. The hydrogen bonds have to be broken before they can move freely and heat up, meaning they also hold a lot of heat. Water boils at exactly 212 degrees Fahrenheit. The fats are made of 2 molecules, carbons and hydrogens. There are unsaturated fats and saturated fats. Unsaturated fats are more liquid, while saturated fats are solid because unsaturated fats have carbons that have double bonded to another. And carbs are sugars. They are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. 6 carbons bond together to form a ring, and 1 ring has 6 carbons, 6 oxygens, and 12 hydrogens. It is a basic building block of all other carbs and can bond with other carbs. To cook my chicken, I'm going to use this pan, and I'm going to use conduction. Metals are great conductors because the metal molecules are really loose. They are great for getting heat into the food. Meat needs to be cooked more on the outside than the inside, so conduction is a really good option for this. Conduction itself is when thermal energy is exchanged from one particle to a nearby one by means of a collision or a movement that induces movement. It's direct contact heat. Heat travels from the outside to the center of a solid piece of food. So by doing this, I'm also going to be frying the chicken in butter and olive oil. Frying heats food mostly by conduction from a hot oiled pan. The fat brings the uneven surface of the food into uniform contact with the heat. It lubricates and prevents sticking, and it supplies some flavor. Season the chicken with salt and pepper on both sides and flour on both sides. I want to talk about the reason for why the chicken is white versus other meat. So red mussels have a protein called myoglobin that holds onto oxygen, while white meat is designed for slow, quick bursts of speed, like a chicken freaking out, so it doesn't need as much oxygen because it's not continuously used. So, as I said before, I brined my meat, and because chicken is 75% water, 20% protein, and 5% fat, brining holds the moisture together. What you do is you take salt water, or you take a mixture of salt and water, and put it in the fridge for about 2 hours, and this lets the salt water absorb. It helps to hold that water in and keep the meat moist while also dissolving some of the muscle fibers and unraveling proteins, resulting in a very tender and moist meat. Overcooking it squishes it together and squeezes out the water and reverses this denature process that happens when cooking. When the meat is done, the fat cells are also going to melt when cooked, giving another moist flavor and lubricating fibers. So the chicken should have just a little give for it to be done. I'm going to transfer it to this plate so I can cover it with aluminum foil until the rest of my food is done. Aluminum foil is also a metal, so it's going to hold that heat in really well for us. Should still be super warm by the time we're done with everything else. So I'm boiling my green beans for 3 minutes. So green beans have 2 general forms, one with round thin pods like this, and one with flat and wide pods, basically the one that you always have in cans. The flat varieties, usually the ones in cans, have been found to have a more intense flavor, so I'm going to spruce these up with lemon to match the entree. green beans and green pods alike are flavorful and healthy because they serve as a temporary storage unit for the seed's supplies. The seeds inside collect sugars, amino acids, and other nutrients from the plant, and that makes them tasty as well. Pods also generate their own sugars through photosynthesis. Quality green beans can be hard to find because they are one of the most fragile vegetables since their tissue is so active. They quickly consume their sugars and lose their sweetness, even when kept in a cold environment. Their subtropical origins don't allow them to keep well in refrigerators, and their cells become damaged and lose chlorophyll. So I'm gonna drain the green beans. Oh, I can't see. And because I want to stop the cooking immediately because they're super hot right now, I'm dumping them into ice water. So I'm doing this to kind of saute the green beans. It would have been a little healthier if I cooked the green beans just like on the oven like this instead of boiling it, because it would have trapped the nutrients in a little better. So I used more butter and garlic for a really nice aroma for the green beans. I also added more lemon juice to it as well. So for the starch, we have angel hair pasta. Oh, I always do that. Using boiling again because it is a really good way to heat these things. It's another form of conduction. Really good for boiling water. So when pasta is cooked in water, the protein network and starch granules absorb water and expand. The outer protein layer is ruptured and the dissolving starch escapes into the cooking water. You want to keep stirring so it doesn't get sticky. And starch are carbs, and they are a long chain of a bunch of sugars. This is dried durum pasta. It's just forms of Italian pasta. It's made from durum wheat and is chock full of gluten proteins. These types of noodles limit the loss of dissolved proteins and gelled starch and makes a really firm noodle. Pasta is done cooking when the center of the noodle still remains slightly undone and offers some resistance to chewing. The noodle surface will be 80 to 90% water and the center 40 to 60% water. So this is the sauce. I just mixed it together. It is chicken broth, olive oil, the juice from 2 lemons, salt and pepper, and heavy cream. I also added flour into it to help thicken it. So the starch added into the sauce is called a roux, and it thickens the sauce by heating up granules and traps the flavors into your sauce. A question might be why heavy cream instead of just regular milk, but when you heat up milk, the casein proteins bond together and form clumps. When you heat up cream, the casein proteins bind to fat globules instead of clumping to each other, so it won't curdle. And curdled sauce would be really gross. The heavy cream, or also called whipping cream, is made by agitating the fat globules until it pokes holes into them. Before rupturing, the fat pokes out and grabs onto the other fat coming out of the other globules, giving whipped cream its structure. So this is the finished product. I have the green beans, the chicken, and the pasta, and I added parsley flakes because I forgot to add the parsley fresh garnish, and I know that the garnishes really need to be fresh for there to be any aroma, so this is mostly for looks. There you go.